Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. If you're here, of course, for the webinar with the Hollywood Partnership and the the Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Development Corporation, we thank you. Just hang tight. We'll be starting our presentation in just about a minute or so. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:05, and so we want to be very mindful of your time as you have businesses to run. We want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Davon Barbour. I'm Vice President for Advocacy and Economic Development with the Hollywood Partnership. We are the business improvement district within Hollywood, managing the 290-acre area and supporting 100,000 properties with business owners such as yourselves. We certainly know the impacts of COVID-19. It's been a very trying year for many of us, and with 2021 provides an opportunity for new beginnings and recovery. And so we're so delighted to bring this content with you for you today in collaboration with our partners at the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. We are incredibly fortunate to have what I believe is an all-star cast delivering some really informative information to you as businesses to assist with your recovery. And I'm again just delighted and so honored that we have the Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Development Corporation with us today. So we've got a power-packed lunch, quick sound bites of information for you. We know that time is money and you've got a business to run, but we feel it's imperative to get resources in your hands so that you can recover. And so we're going to cover a lot today. We will have if you have questions at the end of the presentation, I do encourage you to place them in the chat and we'll answer as many questions as possible. And so before we, I pass the baton to my colleagues at the Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Development Corporation, would like to just provide some introductions to about who you'll hear from today. So first joining us today is Colette Moore, the Vice President and Program Director for Pacific Coast Regional Development Corporation. She has a stellar small business background. She is the director, of the center, and she has significant business experience herself. So as a business owner, she recently owned and operated a franchise and staffing company called Pride Staff for 8 years. She developed and provided candidates to a broad base of businesses for administrative to light industrial jobs. In 2015 and 2015, Pride Staff was named Best Staffing Agency, and Colette's office was named Top 100 Minority-Owned Companies by the Los Angeles Business Journal and honored at the California Small Business Day in 2015. So certainly you can see that she's got significant experience and she's got, I think, some knowledge to share with you to help your businesses grow. We're also joined by Georgette Huckabee, who's also a business advisor and accounting instructor with Pacific Coast Regional. She brings more than 20 years of experience in finance and has been in leadership roles with SoCal Edison and Bridgewater Consulting. She builds and transforms and enhances financing teams using strong communication skills to establish organizational goals and metrics. She's a QuickBooks expert, and for the past 4 years, she has been providing expert advice to PCR small business and nonprofit clients. And so I know I've had my share of QuickBooks, and so I'm looking to learn from Georgette as well. And finally, rounding out our discussion as well is Karen Blackwell, a new addition at PCR, as a core advisor specializing in supplier development. For the past 2 years, she has been self-employed as a consultant. Prior to joining PCR, Karen managed supplier diversity and development for Nestle across North America, and she was responsible for strategies to include small, minority, and veteran-owned businesses in the $9 billion to the company to pay suppliers annually. What I'm also impressed by is the fact that Karen was also Assistant Deputy Mayor for Economic Development. And so I can relate to her experiences both in the public and private sector. And she's been working with businesses for over 25 years to help them grow. And so enough for me. I'm going to pass the baton to our exciting team of specialists at Pacific Coast Regional. I hope that you enjoyed today's content, and we look forward to your questions.
Was not going to put myself on mute, but here I am. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Development Center is really pleased to be able to actually be part of the first webinar that Mr. Barber has produced for the organization. We think that this is going to be a great opportunity to share resources and helping businesses in the Hollywood area start, grow, and succeed. I really want to encourage anyone who is listening now or joining at any point in time to grab a paper and pencil and make sure you take notes, because there's a tremendous amount of information, and probably you're going to get so much information that you're going to be glad that you were writing as we went. We'll go to the next slide. And so what is a small business development center that is funded by the SBA? Well, the SBA has this national program with over 1,000 locations, and you guys can read the slide, but I just want to say that I think the real key for the SBA in this area is really understanding the different industries and really bringing together an incredible group of advisors. And this next slide, or side, what is it that we do? We say that we provide all of these consulting specialties. I'm not going to read them all because you can read, but I do want to say that, you know, the big thing is access to capital. And what we believe is that by putting together these other strategies to help you grow and strengthen your business, you'll be in a better place to be able to access that capital, and then also to use that capital wisely, because that is really the name of the game. Getting capital, using it wisely so that you can scale and grow. Before we move off of this slide, however, I just want to point to the third bullet from the bottom, the restaurant and hospitality group, because we have so many venues, restaurants in the Hollywood area that really are within this group. And so we do have specialists. We have a restaurant academy. If you take a look at our website, you'll see the different workshops. They're going every week, and they bring incredible people and resources, and then people who have walked in your shoes, people who have operated businesses, are going through this COVID experience and coming out successfully. So we can go to the next slide. I just wanted to say that if you do, before Georgette starts, I was going to mention that if you join one of our workshops, the person that you're going to hear from is Mr. Trevor Schickman, and he has been doing this for over 20 years. Over 8 years with PCR. He has an incredible amount of experience. The people that have been working with him with this program are realizing success. They're not just going through the process. And so now we'll turn it over to Georgette. Last thing that I want to say is, because there's so much information, we're not going to stop and take questions. So what we would like is for you to put your name, your email in the chat box so that we can see that you're there. And then I know that you'll be on mute. When you have questions, put them in the chat box, and we'll make sure to prioritize them and have either Georgette or Colette address them as they're going through their presentations. Again, welcome, sit tight, and you're going to get a tremendous amount of information. Georgette, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Karen. Colette, you want me to share my screen or you want to drive? Okay, unshare. Okay, so can everybody see my screen okay? All right, so today we're going to talk about some business options for funding during COVID. The two we're going to focus on today is the IDO reopening and the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm going to walk through some of the information on the Paycheck Protection Program, but we do want you to consider giving us a call if you want specific help with the application and the documentation needed. So just a couple of highlights. For 2021, the Paycheck Protection Program has allowed what they call a second draw. That means if you have gotten the PPP in 2020, you are allowed to come back for the second draw in 2021. They have updated the formula so that if you are a Schedule C filer, an independent contractor, sole proprietor, LLC, single member, those folks who file that way, they have changed the formula so you can use your gross income instead of net. Also, for some of you on this call today, you may be in industry code 72. That is for people who are dealing with the public, like restaurants and venues. They are allowed to get 3.5 multiplied 3.5 times their wages. And that I'll go through in a minute to show you how that works. The applications are more simple, and now they have allowed the EIDL advance to be a grant. And then also the EIDL has been extended till the end of the year. And then there are other options to take advantage of, and I'll go through them in a little bit of detail here. So let's start by talking about the Paycheck Protection Program. And it is a program that the SBA has set aside $349 billion in loans to eligible borrowers. And these loans are really special because 100% of your loan, including interest, can be forgiven, and all the loans are federally guaranteed by the SBA. And these loans were designed to help small businesses like you all on this call, to help you keep your employees employed, so it can help you with your payroll, your rent, utilities, and interest on any debt that you have. You can get a loan for up to $10 million. The rate is fixed and it's a 5-year loan. So I'm sorry, $2 million. So up to $2 million, 1% for 5 years. So even the amount that may perhaps not be forgiven is very, very simple repayment. And I always say you can't beat this with a stick. 1% for 5 years. You won't find that anywhere else. So for the eligibility, most businesses are eligible. There are no fees to the SBA lender, no personal guarantees or collaterals required, and the loan is deferred for 10 months. So there's something called a covered period. So you can use these funds for up to 24 weeks. Your 10 months doesn't even start until that 24 weeks is over, and then you don't pay for another 10 months. So you have a lot of time to recover for the loan, and then you have up to 10 months to also apply for forgiveness. So if this is your second PPP, though, you do have to prove that you have had a 25% decline in your revenue comparing 2019 to 2020. So that just means that you have to show that 2019, your gross revenue was higher than your 2020 gross revenue, either for the entire year, or you can pick quarters, either first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So if any one of those quarters in 2020 is lower than 2019, you are eligible for the second draw PPP. If you have 300 or fewer employees, it's available to corporations, sole proprietors, independent contractors, nonprofits, and then again, anyone in industry code 72 will get 3.5% of their monthly payroll in the loan. There are two different applications. So when you are filling out your application, most of the time the lenders will have a portal. So you'll log into the portal, you'll answer some questions, and then they will direct you to the form. But just know that there are two different forms. For people, this is their first PPP, and some folks, this is their second PPP. So even though it's 2020, you didn't get a PPP last year, you can still get your first draw this year. Just make sure you're using the correct form. The link is at the bottom. These slides will be provided to you. I recommend you, even if you're going to use the portal for a fintech or another 7(a) lender, go ahead and pull the form, take a look at it, fill it out with your pencil. And then when you log in to the portal, you'll already have your information, in the right order, and you'll have exactly what they need. The PPP is currently set to expire March 31st. However, we are expecting it to get extended until June. So some of the changes that happened recently with the new legislation, and legislation happens all the time and there are always changes. And that's why we do update our information, and we do hold our webinars weekly so that we can update our documents and give you all the latest information that is available to us. So for sole proprietors, I talked about this a little bit before, what they'll do is ask you for your Schedule C, and that has both your gross and net income. And for the PPP new change, you can use your gross income, and then both for your first draw and your second draw. So a lot of people were disqualified because their net profit was so small. So your gross profit is on line 7 of your Schedule C, and your net is on line 31. So if you think about the Schedule C, that number on line 7 is way bigger than the one on line 31. And so you can use that if it's your first draw or your second draw. And then to eliminate the other eligibility requirements were also eliminated. So they have eliminated the restrictions on non-fraud felonies. That disqualified some people before. They have eliminated the restriction on student loan debt delinquency. I had a client who had a delinquent loan from 1986, and he was not able to apply for, or he was not granted the PPP based on that. So they eliminated that restriction. And then non-citizen owners, lawful residents is now clarified. So when you apply for the PPP, if you have employees, they could be W-2 employees, but they do not work in the United States, then there was some restrictions on those, and those have been clarified. So if you're thinking about how much you can borrow with your PPP, you can borrow 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. So what you're going to do, if you're a Schedule C filer, you're going to look at that gross amount on line 7, and you're going to say, you're going to take that number divided by 12, because your Schedule C is annual. So you're going to divide that by 12 to get the monthly average. And then you're going to multiply that number times 2.5. And that will be the amount of loan you're going to request. Every employee you have has to be capped at $100,000. So you may need to make some adjustments. And then for seasonal employees or employers, they can adjust the time period that you use for those. But basically, it's your payroll. So if you have a payroll provider like ADP or Paychecks, a lot of them have created COVID-19 reports, and they will calculate all this information for you. If you're using Gusto, ADP, Payroll, they will create these reports for you. but you do need to have those documents handy. You need your 941, your quarterly tax, your payroll tax reports. You're going to need your income tax and any other reports you have to show your salaries, wages, commissions, cash tips, the amounts you pay your employees for time off, like vacation, medical leave, or sick leave. You're going to have all the payments that you pay for your employees as an employer for health insurance, retirement benefits, and then also your state payroll taxes. So your state unemployment and local taxes can also be included in those calculations. And the forms that are online also come with step-by-step instructions. So it will tell you how to calculate each line on the form. So what I went through this before. So unless you're 72, you're going to take your total payroll. You're going to divide that by 12 to get the average monthly payment, multiply that times 2.5. This is just an illustration of the calculation that I mentioned, just to show you how it's not algebra, it's just division and multiplication. And then if you are an industry code 72, you're in the accommodation and food services business, you get to multiply your average monthly payroll times 3.5. So you get an extra month worth of payroll to get you through until hopefully our reopening. For second draw loans up to $150,000, you can certify your revenue loss when you apply for forgiveness. So you don't have to upload your P&L report when you apply. Okay, so I'm gonna say that. However, some 7A lenders are requiring you to upload that document at the time when you apply. So the SBA said you can turn it in when you apply for forgiveness, but some lenders who are really trying to reduce the amount of fraud and reduce their risk, they are asking for this document to be uploaded at the time of application. So there are some options that you can use, and I don't want to make this complicated because it really is to help people who may have been just getting started in 2019. You know, they had their business open, they had some, you know, startup costs, but they didn't have any revenue yet. Maybe your business is seasonal. The example we use a lot is maybe you are a Christmas tree lot, or you're a pumpkin patch, or even maybe you're a janitorial service who usually works in the summer to clean college dorms. So any kind of seasonal business, if you were just starting up in 2019, they have added some options to compare your revenue to prove your 25% of loss. So for all of 2019, you can compare any quarter of 2020 to the same quarter of 2019. So if my worst quarter during COVID was the third quarter, I'm going to compare my third quarter of 2020 to my third quarter of 2019. And I have to show that I had a 25% reduction in revenue. That's your gross revenue. If the company started in the third or fourth quarter in 2019, you can compare any quarter of 2020 to the third or fourth quarter in 2019. So that makes sense because that's when you started. But remember, 2020 has to be lower than 2019. And then if your business started in the first quarter of 2020, right before COVID hit, they're going to let you compare quarter 2, 3, or 4 of 2020 with the first quarter of 2020. So they're just giving you some options. It's not to make this complicated. They're just, a lot of businesses were disqualified because they were just getting started in 2019 and they couldn't find a quarter in 2020 that was lower. The PPP 2, this is your second draw, they have expanded what you can use the funds for. So before the first draw, you can only use your loan for payroll, rent, utilities, mortgage interest, or other secured interest debt. So now they have expanded it to being able to use the funds for PPE for your workers. Maybe you had some property damage from the public disturbance last year. You can use the money to do some repairs. You can use the money for supplier costs, and then also for operating expenditures like software, cloud computing, or other, human resources or accounting needs. So they expanded the use of the fund for the second draw PPP. So this is really, really important. And I tell people to, when you go through the form, look at the documents you're going to need so that you have them all organized, maybe in a folder. They're all PDFs. They're all, less than 250 megabytes that are going to be easy to upload. You're going to have proof of your decline in revenue. That's either with bank statements, financial statements, an income statement / profit loss report, or your credit card reports. You're going to need your articles of incorporation or whatever your formation documents are. If you're an LLC, if you are an S Corp partnership, you're going to need those documents that you receive back from the state, and then your operating agreements and your bylaws, your statement of information. So you have to be current on, the statement of information. So go ahead and log in now. It's due. This is the time to do it. Log into, the California SOS and pay your fee and get that updated. If you have a DBA, you're going to need that. Some lenders, although they have a portal, they do ask you to complete the paper form and upload it as well. So go ahead and complete that paper form. That can't go wrong. And then you need your photo ID and your 2019 tax return. So if you're a Schedule C filer, you're going to need that and your 1040. If you file 1120S because you're an S Corp, or 1120 because you're a C Corp, you're going to need your partnership statements. So have all that stuff ready in a file. Karen has her hand up. And she's on mute.
Yes, I have my hand up because we have a question from Earl Parler. And Earl has his question, and it's, if you had to let go of someone, but not all your employees, do you still qualify for a PPP loan?
Yes, you do still qualify. What you're going to do is the 941 and the reports that you're going to get from your payroll provider, it's going to list your payroll summary and your payroll details. So your lender can see how many people you had every single pay period all year. And that's why it's going to be your average. It's going to be your average, your total for the year. And then they're going to take the average. So it'll include the people who were working during the period, not working during the period. But just because you laid somebody off or let somebody go or someone didn't come back, that does not exclude you from applying for a PPP.
Great. Colette, was there something that you wanted to add to that? Okay, we're good.
Was that the only question so far?
So far, yes.
Okay.
But I do want you to know, guys, that we do have more than 20 people on the line. So people are interested. I know that they're going to be coming back because it's a lot to take in, but this is fantastic.
And I want to give you as much information as possible, but please, if I'm going too fast, just type in the chat. Please tell her to slow down. But this, like I said before, this information will be delivered to you so you can go through it. So if you're taking notes, just make sure you note what page that we're on that you have the question about. But thank you for that question. I like questions. It makes me know someone's there because I can't see you guys. So for sole proprietors and self-employed and single member LLCs, these are the documents that you're going to need for your second PPP. You're still going to have proof that you had a decline of revenue of 25% or more in 1 quarter. And I just had a client meeting this morning, and she was like, I do all my bookkeeping at the end of the year. I get my bank statements, blah, blah, blah. So she said, tell me why I should have QuickBooks. So here's a reason why you should, or any accounting software, is because you're going to need a financial statement. And it's much easier to do it in an accounting software than it is for you to try to put one together from your credit card statements and bank statements at whatever time you need them. So your financial statements, you can get a report that has 2019 next to 2020, and then you can calculate the difference and upload that, and that will suffice as your proof of decline in revenue. If you have to load your bank statements to show it, that's going to be a lot of bank statements to load, and you're going to be giving them a lot of information they don't need, and probably some information you really don't need to share. You're going to need your business start date, your bank account and routing number, because that's how they deposit the money to you. You're going to need your 1040 and your Schedule C. And then SBA Form 2483 if this is your first PPP, and 2483 SD if this is your second PPP, your DBA if you use one, and then your photo ID. I have another question. You're on mute again.
Yes, you do. And so I'm, toggling back and forth. But I think this is something that we talked among ourselves just a little yesterday. And this is from Christian Mioli. I hope I pronounced your name right, Christian. And he says that I am a movie theater owner and applying for the shuttered venue funding. And previously, SBA said that taking the PPP2 would disqualify you from the shuttered venue funding. That has changed as of today with Biden signing the Rescue Act. So he asks, can I jump in now and apply for PPP2, or shall I wait until the SBA updates these previous rules?
So unfortunately, you will have to wait, because it may only be until Monday, right? So whenever there's a new ruling, new legislation, usually, I don't know if you notice, it usually comes out like Thursday or Friday, and it gives them time to update their systems. So if you read something that says that now you can have both or do both, just give them a couple days to update the system so that it keeps up with the legislation. And remember, you still have time for PPP, because even now the end date is March 31st. Of course, okay, so I should say too, do not wait till March 29th to try to apply somewhere, because remember, unless they extend it in the next week or so, the lenders are not going to accept applications to March 31st. They usually stop a week or so before, so that they can have time to get their information, because the March 31st date is the SBA date, not the lender date. So don't ever wait until those last few days when you see a deadline, because that is usually the due date for the SBA, not your lender. So I would say to Christian to jump on it on Monday, and everybody should have their systems updated by then, or most people. If you have employees, okay, so these two, so I was saying, like for S Corps, LLCs, for sole proprietors, this is for sole proprietors with no employee. So you are your only employee in your business. You don't have any other people who work for you, who gave you a W-4 and you give them back a W-2. Those are employees. If you have employees, regardless of your organization type, every lender is going to ask you for your 941s for your quarter. That's your quarterly salary, wages, and commissions and tips, but it also proves that you are paying your payroll taxes. Your 944, which is just the annual version of the 941, there's all together. They will ask you for your 940s, your own 1040C if you're a sole proprietor, and then if you pay for paid time off, they're going to ask you to submit those payroll statements that show, that you have made your calculations correctly. So if someone makes $106,000, you've capped them at 100,000. So everybody's salary is capped at 100,000. All your employees, owners have different caps. So you got to really pay attention to that. But you will need all these documents. So start getting them ready and get them in a folder, because you will have to upload them with your lender. This one, we just want to show you some possible lenders, and we start with the fintechs. So these lenders are usually pretty fast, right? However, most people that I've worked with have a really hard time getting someone on the line. So if you have all your information together and everything's tight and you could just go through it, these fintech lenders are pretty incredible. Bluevine, PayPal, Funding Circle, Lendio. I have clients who have used probably most of those lenders. I have PCR clients who have used probably most of those lenders. The next ones are CDFIs, and those are the banks like PCR. And PCR is currently doing just first draw, Colette, not second, just first draw. So if you're on the call and you didn't get a PPP last time, certainly, and you want to be a PCR client, we're doing first draw, Lendistry, Pace, Lisk, Fountainhead. Those CDFIs usually have some people like me and Karen, or Karen and myself, who can help you like through that process. Community banks, I've heard a lot of good stuff recently about Pacific Enterprise Bank, Sunflower Bank, SunWest Bank. Those community banks are really trying to help the communities that they serve. And then non-bank lenders, Liberty, Harvest, and then major banks, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, and Wells Fargo. So I do know specifically that Bank of America stopped taking applications on March 9th, 5 p.m. Eastern time. That doesn't mean they won't come back when the due date is extended, or if the due date, I should say if the due date is extended. Chase, I love Chase. However, Chase is not going to change their formula to let Schedule C filers do the gross, I guess, unless maybe they will when they extend it, but right now they're not changing their formula for Schedule C filers. And then we got Citibank and Wells Fargo. So you will have this list. So you have some options of banks that you can go to. Colette?
Yeah, I was just, for those of you that already applied and you got your first draw, you should be able to go back to that bank. But Georgette makes a very good point to make sure that they're giving the more, for the sole props, they're giving you the more favorable terms, which are basing the amount on the gross versus the net. So that is something I didn't even know that banks were deciding that, especially if it's available to the borrower. So, yes, be looking at all the documents, and that's where our advisors can assist you if you have questions on that. And then someone put Cabbage in as just another potential, I think, as a fintech that they might have worked with before, if they had success. So this is a list compiled from all of our clients that had success through the first round, and we've been updating that as the time goes on. So,
and Cabbage, Bluevine, and can't think of it off the top of my head, but they're kind of all connected. So even when you log into Cabbage, you end up with Bluevine, or I forget the other name of it, but yeah, they're good. They're all good. So I and Trevor Schickman, who I think Karen mentioned before, we give a webinar every Thursday, including today at 2 p.m. And we walk through the process, the calculations, the forms and documents you're going to need to get forgiveness. So the key, or one of the best parts about this loan is that, if you use the money as intended, you can apply for forgiveness. And you, again, you can be forgiven for the entire loan, including the interest. And we walk you through how to do that with the latest information every Thursday at 2 o'clock. Karen?
Is it too late for people to join today?
No, so the link right here, pcrsbdc.org/workshops. If you log in there and sign up, you can, I think it closes at like 1:30 or something like that. So it's probably not too late, but you can also sign up for next Thursday as well. Colette, was this your slide? Nope, okay. Oh, okay. And so then just a little bit about the EIDL. The EIDL is, again, 3.75 for 30 years. That is fantastic. The loan is up to $150,000, and you are eligible to qualify for, if some companies will qualify for up to $2 million. The term is 30 years. And you can use the funds for any business expense. Like it's not limited to, just payroll, utilities, because it is a loan. It's not a forgivable loan. And just a quick reference, this is how you apply for the loan. The new deadline is December 31st. Again, do not wait till December 31st, because that is the deadline for the SBA. You can get up to a $10,000 advance. It's $1,000 per employee, up to $10,000. You do need your supporting documentation. They're going to ask you for, your tax returns and your statement of information, your formation documents. So you will have to have your documents in order to apply and be ready to upload those documents at the time of application. Karen?
Yeah, the quick question, Georgette, is if you received an EIDL once, can you get a second?
I don't think so, Colette. Do you know that question?
We have been submitting them. You can ask for reconsideration. Some people made mistakes and they didn't get as much money as maybe they might have been eligible for. We have not yet had success with those. The only applications our team has had success with working with the SBA are the ones that were like reconsideration, like they were just completely declined versus an extension. So we're hoping that more money will flow with the additional funds coming through and that you don't have to reapply, but you can get reconsideration. There is a form to do that. You can meet with your advisor, and those have been a lot of help working with the advisors to develop the form to make the request. I think we've only had one success for the extended funds, and hoping that will open back up again. And then I just wanted to mention too, on the grant, if you applied for the grant, but you only got, say, $1,000 and maybe you were eligible for 10, you can only get this grant, though. It's essentially by invitation only based on your zip code. So they are looking for low to moderate income zip codes to extend the additional grant to. And I'll just share this with everyone. Make sure to check your emails and check your spam because some of these things have been going into spam and people are missing out, and our advisors are working with people. It's like, I think that you might qualify, and then they go in and find, and one of our clients got $9,000 because she checked her email and it was in there, the invitation to get more funds. So there are options here.
That invitation comes to your email, and the email has a link. You cannot log in. There is no website to go to. You have to receive the email. You have to click the link. If the question is, can you get another EIDL, like the first draw and the second draw of the PPP? That's a no, right, Colette? You can't have two EIDLs.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, they see those as fraud. They consider those.
Right.
And I see here, Aaron is asking, he says our EIDL was declined, and after talking to them, they confirmed it was an error on their part. It's been stuck for the last 9 months. Yes, we've been calling that the vortex, Aaron. So you can work with our advisor. So I put into the chat there, and our advisor, we have one advisor who's been getting these things to the SBA and, on top of getting people out of this vortex. So we can assist you. We do have a relationship and somebody to help us there. So we can assist you. And we know that that's a difficult process, but we can assist you in that process. We can try to help. But you don't reapply essentially. Yeah, it's not a reapplication. Go ahead, Georgia.
Right. And so we did have some clients who were thinking, I don't want another loan. That's the last thing I need is another loan. But you do need to consider the differences. So one of our advisors put this chart together, and I just love it, the way it's laid out. So if you look at an EIDL versus a standard loan or a standard SBA loan, first of all, most loans you need some you have to prove that you need some working capital, or you have some capital improvements, or you're going to do some acquisitions. And for this one, it's a disaster loan, and so everyone probably in the world has had some impact from COVID-19. The terms are 3.75% for all businesses, and except for nonprofits, they get 2.75. And typically a loan, it ranges from 7 to 10%. And a lot of times nonprofits are not eligible for standard loans. And then the maturity is 30 years. So you have 30 years to pay the loan back versus the typical 5 to 10 years. This gives you 1 year deferment. So you don't even start making your payment. You don't pay anything for the first year. Deferments are hardly offered with other loans. As soon as you get the loan, you got a budget for that interest expense that's going to hit you probably like in 45 days. You're going to have to pay, and you're going to have these huge interest expense on your current income statement. But this item loan is deferred for a whole year. There's no collateral required for under $25,000, and you don't need a personal guarantee because the SBA is guaranteeing these loans. Your processing fee is zero. That is huge. There's no processing fee for these EIDL loans, and we know that other loans do have packaging fees and processing fees to pay the people who are reviewing them. If you have a $150,000 loan, your average monthly payment is probably going to be around $700 compared to like $2,337 for a $150,000 standard loan, with the interest. So do consider this. It is a loan. However, it's one of the best loans I've ever seen, like ever. And I've been around a while. The other thing too is, usually when they do have disaster loans, you have to be in a certain area and zip codes and all that stuff. This is for people in the United States. So I can't sell it anymore.
And Georgette, let's skip to the funding opportunity, the other ones really quickly. Okay. If you need help with reconsideration, though, we can help you. It's a process, but we can help you with that. So we won't go through, but I see that we're getting short on time. So I wanted to go forth and be able to share the other funding opportunities. And I know Georgette is well aware of the first one, and some of you had asked that about the shuttered venue grant. So I'm so happy to hear that, hey, we'll see what happens with the application for the PPP, but the eligibility is fairly specific. It has not been offered yet. Maybe they were waiting for some of these other things to take place, but it is for live venue operators, theatrical, performing arts, motion picture theater operators. So I saw that movie theater, and talent reps. One of the key things is, though, you must have a defined performance and audience space. So that it's like hard chairs, both of you have, it has to be defined for performance. And there's an example in the FAQs here that mention that, you can't be a shared space like a park that has a venue in the summer. It has to be a real dedicated space for the performing arts. So you have to have been in operation as of February 29th. And then the venue must have not received a PPP loan on or after December 27th. And so that's where you have to make that decision. They do require that you have a DMB number for this, and you must be have an application and register with SAM, which is the government website for you to register your business. There's a link there. If you go to sba.gov and you type in or this SVOG grant, SVOG, you'll be able to find a lot of great information about this grant. It's very big though, so applicants can get the lesser of that 45% of their gross earned revenue with a maximum of up to 10 million. It's a lot of money available here. And then if you started after January 1st, it's the lesser of the average monthly revenue for each full month you're in operation multiplied by six, or it's 10 million. So this is a really big grant. So, but you have to weigh PPP versus the SVOG, and that's where you can get some help with an advisor to kind of walk through that process. Georgette, anything else on this, this grant? No, okay, all right. And so we're gonna go quickly, but we'll continue to come back and take any messages or any questions, chats. Also wanted to make you aware of the California Relief Grant. This was a grant that was available previously from $5,000 to $25,000 grant. It is for California businesses. But there's a strict requirement within these ranks. So even if you are $10 over 100,000, then you are in the next group, or or 10,000, or $10 under, you're in the smaller group for the $5,000 grant. It's very sharp. There is a group for round for arts and cultural businesses, and this is not-for-profit and for-profit. That is March 16th. So even if you applied before, you still have to apply for this particular grant. If you had applied previously in round 1 or 2, you don't have to do anything for this current round. You would just be pulled from the wait list because more money, it went by really quickly, but more money was allocated. Then in round 5, if you're in the wait list still, you'll be pulled. But if you had never applied, you can apply in round 5, and then round 6 is TBA. So you can click on that careliefgrant.com, careliefgrant.com, and that is where you will find this and be looking out. It had been a little complicated process. I know you guys might had helped, Georgette, you had helped some clients before, but hopefully it's even better now that it's come back. And so, but if you need help, our advisors can assist you with that. Then there's a new one that opens up March 15th. We want you to be aware of, and this is brick and mortar businesses serving neighborhoods. Your business has to be in LA County, and you have to be under 20 employees. So this may be a good option for some of the businesses on the call here, 5 to 25,000. This is a grant. You will not need to return the money, and you just have to show that you've been negatively impacted by COVID. Then we also wanted to make you aware there's a free PPE. How many of you all know how expensive those masks and shields and hand sanitizer is? It is a lot of money. And so there is a program here. It's called PPE Unite. And there's a program where you can get free PPE for your business if you have under 50 employees. And it varies based on the number of employees that you have for your business. And so you could get a small box or a big box, and to help keep your employees safe as well as your clients as well. So register for that. Then there's one more that is if you need help with e-commerce, you're brick and mortar, but and you don't have to be brick and mortar, but you're doing e-commerce and you need some help. They have a program with eBay you can apply. Today is the last day. Wanted to share this with you for a training program in e-commerce. And so it's not a difficult application. You just have to have applied on eBay before, or not applied. You don't have to sell on eBay. You just need to have an account. So if you have an account, you can apply. And then also Facebook is working with Career Connections to provide trained staff. All right, and I see the 2-minute warning to provide trained staff for trained interns for the summer of 2021. There's also we're working with the experts of the US Patent and Trademark Office, Patent Basics. Maybe you've got some new creations, products that you are working on, or Trademark Basics. This is the second of 3 for the next 2 Tuesdays we are offering this. And then we have a whole list of webinars and workshops. So we just wanted to share those with you and to make sure that you're aware. They're in the chat there. You can find all of our workshops at pcrsbdc.org and pull down workshops, and you can see all of these great workshops. All of this is free of charge to you. It's by the benefit of the SBA, GoBiz, and then other benefactors that support PCR and the SBDC program to provide for small businesses. So you can contact us here. You look at our website. It is best actually to use the info box. Our entire team is looking at that. And so before we take any additional chats, I just wanted to thank our partnership with Davon and the Hollywood Partnership. We appreciate you having us on today to be able to share great information. And as you become a client with us, you will get regular updates that we provide. This information is changing daily, it seems. And so we're always providing updates to our clients and our partners to make sure that you are aware and that you can get the money that is available to you. Don't exclude yourself. Get help if you have questions. Get your documents together and apply for these money resources. We know that you guys can get this money. Our communities need it. LA needs it. Hollywood needs it. Go get this money. So with that, I will relinquish the mic. And if there were any additional chat items, Karen, I wasn't sure.
No, we don't have anything else. We have said repeatedly, we're here to help. Please contact us, info@PCR-SBDC. There are a couple of people who asked for my phone number. I've given that to you because I know there's been a tremendous amount of information here, but we really want you to go through the info@sbdc.org so that you can register and become a client so that you can take advantage of these great services. And Devon, I know that I'd like you to end it because this is your event. And thank you so much for allowing us to partner with you today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to, really thank Colette, Karen, and Georgette for their information. Hopefully you found value. I hope that they've eliminated some of the mystique around many of these programs. We know it's a challenging time, and so I cannot say thank you again for your time. We're looking forward to this collaboration. And so for those of you that have joined us, I know it's the top of the hour. We promise to get you in and out. We want you to get back to your businesses and continue to generate those profits. So, on behalf of the Hollywood Partnership, as well as the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, we extend a warm greeting to you and thank you for joining us this afternoon. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Continue to visit our website as you'll see regular updates on some of our services. And if you're looking for, I know we've shared some contact information with you in the chat. If you need that again, feel free to reach out to us and we'll connect you. And so with that, thank you and fare thee well.
Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.